Good day, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're just going to wait a couple minutes to make sure folks have a chance to log in and join the webinar before we get started. Okay, let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Jonathan Karen here from Anomalo, where I lead partner innovation. And I'm joined by Xander Probst from Hakkōda, who leads data governance, and Venkat Suru from Snowflake, who's a principal data platform architect and field CTO. So before we begin, let's do a quick icebreaker. In the chat, please drop, say, like one word that describes your biggest challenge with data governance today. I'd just love to see what those are. Now with that, let's get started. So what I wanted to talk about today, and what we are all here to talk about, is really about building trust and compliance at scale. So you have a lot of data, you have a lot of governance challenges, the world is accelerating, and the question on everyone's mind is, how do we make sure we're acting effectively and with trust with all of this data? So behind this is a big question. Your data is evolving. Once upon a time, you had a lot of kind of stable, centralized data pipelines. The data was analyzed by human analysts on a pretty periodic basis. It was very straightforward. It was very rules-based. Change was very slow. And you had a limited audience of people using this data, consuming it. Now we're faced with an intense distributed multi-cloud real-time picture where data is changing constantly, right? AI applications are driving urgency, all sorts of things are happening. And this is really just creating a ton of new work, new effort, and new risk for companies. So historically, Anomalo has offered a platform that gives you a machine learning based approach to building trust in your structured data. And the way we've done that is to rethink the traditional data quality process for structured data, eliminate the need to spend a bunch of time up front writing rules and basic systems, and actually create a platform that allows you to get the best of automated approaches, table observability and data observability for your engineering pipelines, plus no code and low code validation rules and business anomaly detection, really giving you that single platform that solves all of your structured data quality problems. The problem is that structured data is no longer the majority of what people are concerned about. The structured data, by which I mean tabular data sitting in your relational databases, your cloud warehouses, and other systems, is just a very small piece of the overall enterprise data picture now. These numbers come from Gartner, where they're saying that 80% of the data that enterprises want to be able to tap into is unstructured data. And by that, we mean things like PDFs, documents, spreadsheets, reports, contracts, transcripts from customer calls, all of these different things that really traditionally we've had no way of analyzing at scale and determining either what's in them or whether they're fit for purpose for our business use. And 95% of that unstructured data is unmonitored and unanalyzed today. When a team wants to actually use that data for a business application, they're faced with this challenge of manually sitting there, staring at this data, figuring out what's in it, proofreading it, trying to apply, traditional approaches to understand what it is, whether it poses compliance vulnerabilities, threats, brand risk, all the sorts of things. And this is just untenable. Now, where I want to push us is to really think about how structured and unstructured data fit together. You think about a traditional BI process where you're taking structured data from a data warehouse, turning it into an unstructured document like a report or an analysis. And then we also have the extraction that's come along more recently, right? Using NLP and other techniques, you can take documents of unstructured data, extract specific fields and facts from them, and write them into tables. And so in both cases, you have data flowing between the structured and unstructured worlds. But in the modern world, it's not that simple, because the truth is that we're feeding both unstructured and structured data into our AI applications, and those applications are generating structured and unstructured data, as well as metadata about how the application is performing. So that idea that you have a solution for your structured data and a solution for your unstructured data and they can be independent is a fantasy. It's not true anymore. So what we've done at Anomalo is we've focused on how do we bring these together? How do we give you a single system that can address the unique needs and challenges of both structured and unstructured data, so that you're living in a world where you're prepared for these new AI applications, where you can act with confidence, where you can trust the data that they're operating on. So really quickly, I just want to show you what our product looks like in action and how we solve this problem. And then after I do this, we're going to talk more about the process by which organizations can get to a state where they have this data under governance and management and they're confident in it. And then we'll talk more about how the Snowflake platform as a whole enables all of these things to happen. So let me hop out of my slides here and very, very quickly go and look at Anomalo as a product. So Anomalo is available in the Snowflake marketplace. We're, in addition to both SaaS and in-VPC deployment options, we now offer the ability for you to deploy Anomalo within your Snowflake account using the native app framework. This is super powerful because it actually allows you to run Anomalo's application workloads, both the control and the data plane, inside of your Snowflake account running on Snowpark containers. So you have one location to manage your infrastructure, your data, and your data quality process. Once Anomalo is installed in Snowflake, it's super quick and easy to get up and running. Here you can see we're actually using Anomalo inside of the Snowflake native app framework. And what I'm showing you here is Anomalo's structured data quality system, where we're connected to a data warehouse, we're looking at tables, and those tables are configured to be automatically monitored for quality issues in real time, day by day. So when you have a table in Anomalo, the first thing we're going to do is we actually profile the data. We generate all of these rich visualizations so that people can understand what's in these tables if they're not super familiar with them. We get you all of your traditional metrics and statistics you would need for machine learning applications. We'll even sample data and do some, present some data science visualizations so that you can just very quickly and easy understand what this data is. Then we go through a number of automated checks that require no configuration, where we're looking at engineering concerns like table availability and data freshness. And then we also analyze missing data and table anomalies for more unexpected unknown unknowns that can occur in your data, all without having to sit down and actually write any manual rules. Of course, there are always going to be important business KPIs and specific validations that you need to run on your data. And that's why we offer a library of over 100 no-code and low-code checks that allow users to just very quickly and easily hop into a wizard, and with a guided flow, they can define their rules without writing SQL, as well as advanced use cases. They can actually come in and write specific SQL checks. And these will automatically execute and monitor your data. Now, some of the things that Anomalo can do here are time series monitoring and prediction. So here we're looking at a check which is monitoring the size on disk of this table. And you can see that over time, this table is going through compaction cycles. And the green shadow here represents our prediction of what normal looks like for this table. So we're very quickly and easily able to establish a baseline, looking back over up to 4 years of history, and automatically predict and alert you on any unexpected changes in everything from table row volume and data size, all the way down to things like number of null values in a row in a column, as well as much more in-depth analytics. For example, our correlation analysis with machine learning can automatically detect any significant deviations in columnar data and write those out in plain English to give you a very quick understanding of anomalies in your data set day over day, and what you can do to research these issues and get them fixed quickly. So we do all of that for structured data. More recently, we've announced a new product for unstructured data, where we're actually able to plug into Snowflake or any document repository and automatically classify and analyze large collections of documents, easily scaling to thousands and tens of thousands of documents, and identify a set of 20 predefined quality issues. So we can both find, we can help a team analyze a document collection, understand what's in it, understand whether the documents have quality issues, and even extract metadata like topics, tone, language. And we can correlate all of this and use a lot of the same techniques for visualization and machine learning, so that you can very quickly onboard a new unstructured data set, understand what's in it, and even build workflows where once you have a data set like this, you can create a workflow that allows you to script a set of extraction and summarization actions and create things like reports, or write this groomed compliant data out to a new location so that you can launch it into your application. So all of this and more is available. I don't want to spend a lot of time just showing the product off. But the one thing I really wanted to focus on here is that what you were seeing is running entirely inside of the Snowflake ecosystem. So in this case, I have a native app which is running the Anomalo workload inside of Snowpark in my Snowflake account. And it's able to read both tabular data and unstructured data out of Snowflake's data storage, write all of its summarization and application state and findings back into Snowflake on an internal stage. And we're even able to use Cortex LLMs so that even the LLMs and the generative AI part of this application are governed and contained within your Snowflake account. So this is a beautiful vision for what is possible. But the really hard question is, how do we get there? And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Xander to talk more about the process and the evolution from where many companies are at now to this future state where they can take advantage of this entire AI platform.
Thank you much, Jonathan. And so going straight into everything, hello, everyone. Xander Probst from Hakkōda. And so what we'll focus on in this section is really, again, like Jonathan was mentioning, bringing this to life. And so what I wanted to do is break this down in its simplest terms and then kind of talk through a hypothetical. So I'll be honest, my daughter and I have recently discovered how good the Disney Junior show Spider-Man is. So with my example, bear with me on this one, as you'll probably figure out where I got the inspiration. So as we were talking through this unstructured data all the way through this AI ML landscape that we want to go, I would want to visualize the idea that our company is focused on superheroes and how those then relation to each other so that we can populate a database that says everything that there ever was about superheroes. And so from this, if we think through our different source systems that we have things like comic books, right? We have movies, we have shows, we have people talking about superheroes, the public opinion, right? And so if we talk through all of this and we record things, we have these meetings, we have all these PDF scans of comic books and such. We then bring those into a data lake that we have in Snowflake, and we are able to right then and there start deducing where these things should be categorized, right? And so we know certain things around certain superheroes, right? So we know that, let's say a Spider-Man, for example, like my daughter would love, is going to be in the Marvel universe, right? If we flip that script and say something about a Superman, right? We know he's in a different universe for DC. And so we can start kind of divvying out where these things land. And then using Anomalo's feature that Jonathan just talked through, we are able to deduce where exactly those differentiations come, and then start talking through the different reports of we have a lot of characters coming from this place, a lot of characters coming from this place, etc. So now that we have our data in a data lake, and we have this kind of visualizations of, okay, we have all of these medium coming into one landscape, and we are able to deduce where things are coming. We know from our background of our business, right, that there are specific relationships that are tied together between various pieces, right? We call these ontologies, we call these knowledge graphs, right? And so that's just simply the relationship between the things. And so based off these relationships, I can go ahead and deduce with data quality, with Snowflake, with AI ML, that these things should be this way. And so I know that Spider-Man should always be Marvel. If he comes across as DC, something has gone on in the background, right? And so what starts happening is we see this landscape of what we are calling more of a self-healing pipeline. When we go from 1 to 5, we want to make sure there's data quality gates in between each step of the piece so that we know and we can give out trusted data as we move into this agentic world that we are moving into. And so as we move into a data engineering landscape and creating these models on this data, and we have it now flattened, we have everything to a place where we are able to model it against whatever, customer-centric piece we want. We are then able to apply and move back into that structured data quality checks that Jonathan was speaking to, of how then we can validate that when I move data from point A to point B, I did so correctly, right? Nothing changed. There's no now null values that fall within whether or not there's a Marvel character or not, right? And so as I move into my models, as I start deducing more and more information and start laying out all of these various layers, getting to an analytics or a consumption layer, I am now focusing on and translating my ability to say, if say hypothetically a Spider-Man is talked about here and a Peter Parker is talked about here, I want to naturally be able to translate those two things because they are one to one, right? There is a relationship directly tying those two pieces of information together. And so therefore, I want to make sure that we are able to deduce when I go into my analytics, my AI models, that if I ask a question about Peter Parker, I'm really asking a question as well about Spider-Man. And I want to make sure that I get information about both of them. So if there's something that new that comes down my pipeline about Spider-Man, then I want to make sure that I can see that in real time in the future as we move forward to look at specifically Peter Parker, right? And so having these ontology standards across the landscape, going from all the way from an unstructured view of all of these different mediums, right? All the way to having now the what am I actually inputting into an AI model? I can get trusted value out of the rationalization that came naturally through this pipeline of using AI ML in my pipe. And now going into the AI model, I have rationalized data that I know can be trusted. I can see the view of how the AI thought about everything that have been left of it. I can trust that data from a data quality standpoint. And as an output of that, I now know that there are anything that pops out from that AI model, I can then trust to make business decisions and then make sure that it's published on my my superhero database website or et cetera, right? And so really tying these concepts together is fantastic and it's amazing and it's great, right? And it shows the power of how we can really make this thing happen. And I think I saw on the chat the business workflows, right? And so if we're talking through the ideas of kind of change management around this, right? Cool that the technology exists. There's three components, right? There's the people, there's the process, there's the technology. So we've talked that there's the technology that can exist within this landscape. And so as we look at the actual change management from an ingest standpoint all the way up to, say, a marketplace, the data products, that agentic framework that we have that's business focused, right? We can kind of see as we move up the scale here on this slide where different people need to get involved and where some of those handoffs occur between everything, right? You'll notice that the bars are getting larger as we move forward based off the amount of influence it has down below, right? So, and I want to focus this, right? The business user is the thing that's scanning across the entire framework, right? It sits at the top of this pyramid. And so we have these business focused questions. We have these ideas that we know people are going to ask when we look at an agentic framework. And so we want to make sure that when we're moving data into a Snowflake, when we're bringing things in that are unstructured, that they are then translating directly into the questions, the money making decisions that are being made from a company level, that they are one to one. And so then as we have it, we have our infra and cloud team, right? We have our Snowflake admins, we have our different data engineered levels that are working within our different ETL tools. And so we're ingesting data and we're transforming data. And then we kind of start moving into more of this semantic model, right? That kind of more analytic layer of things. And so we have this idea of we have the culmination of AI and engineer, where those two people are touching base, and we have it to where we are now looking at it from how do we work smarter together? And so then we move again one more rung up, and we are looking at more of a domain SME, right? That's the business context, right? These are the analytic users of the data, right? They're not necessarily the ones going out presenting the reports, right? They are the ones that are setting the data and making sure that the report is to the dimensions that are needed, right? So the data engineer knows I need to move data because person A asked for it. Analytics know, okay, person A asked for it because of this reason, and I need to make sure these metrics are calculated. And so now we move into a governance and InfoSec world where we're now securing everything. Everything's correct. There's R back within Snowflake, right? These are the ones that are running Anomalo, really allowing us to see this full scale picture, which then ties directly into a data products land, which ties into a marketplace. And that marketplace of these data products are now what is feeding into our agentic AI. And so again, when we look at these, we want to break it out into its individual pieces. And so that we can get the right people in the right positions to be successful as we move forward with not only applying these data quality checks to get that seamless pipeline fixed correctly, right? And remediate that data like we want it to as quickly as possible, with Anomalo alerting those engineers that that unstructured data is popping up something odd, and I can't maybe edit a PDF, but I sure can make sure that it's accounted for when I do any transformations moving forward, right? And so wanting to tie all of these different pieces into each other so that we can then make sure that we have a smart, successful, coherent agentic model that is then feeding business people. And so to round us out and really focus us into how we kind of have this product orientation mindset of, right, the business forward places of those workflows that we are focused on, right? And how then do we apply a data quality metric to it to trust the data? How then do we get everything into all of this? Is really focused around, right? We have the idea of a data acquisition, right? So data is being brought in, whether that be to our previous example, comic books, whether that be movies, etc. Right? And so now we want to harmonize and map that data, right? So, and this can be done agentically, and it can also be done manually. I'll let y'all choose which one y'all'd like to do. And so when we look at this, right, we are really focusing on the ability to say, I know that Spider-Man should be MCU, and I know that Batman should be DC, right? And there's a layer in between these two things. And so I need to harmonize that when I look at it from a transformation standpoint, et cetera, to ensure that we are moving in the right direction when we make business decisions. And so now we have a standard model against an ontology that has, even within your own models, I would ask all of you if you care to, I bet within your model, there are natural relationships that occur within your own models, right? So we have a model that says, I want to count all the superheroes for all the universes to say what team they're in, et cetera. And in your model, you may already be doing that. And so now it's just extracting the relationships within those. Now we have the gold layer and the semantic AI. So we're actually able to make business decisions off of that model and those relationships that we have derived from our own piece, which then tie directly into actually having this idea of a data product, which is now our reports, our AI models, et cetera, those things that we make decisions off of, and those things that we now make money off of. And so I'll pass it over to Venkat to now talk through kind of how Snowflake, we've seen how data quality looks in Anomalo. We've seen a little bit of how to actually activate this within our landscape. And now we'll start switching over to how does Snowflake actually enable this from an organization and platform perspective.
Thanks, Xander. That was a wonderful overview and also with the great analogy, so easy to understand. This was the hard part, everyone. So Jonathan, thanks. Xander, thanks. You all done the hardest part. I think I'm getting the easy part here. So with that, you've seen how deep dive we could go, and Jonathan showed a great demo. It was so easy to understand. This is the hardest one if you are actually dabbling in data quality. Now, having said that, of course, everybody knows about data explosion. AI is the buzzword. Everybody wants to do AI, and everybody is doing AI. Every organization is doing it. But why is it all? Why does it matter? Why are we doing all this? Is of course to feed into the business, to give, to have these business transformations so that the business can either make more money or save money or both. And this is where the platform comes in, Snowflake. And we are seeing a lot of disruptions, whether you talk about data, which is explosion of different data, structured, unstructured. We're talking about different formats. Here, open table becoming very, very popular. You have Snowflake tables, but you also have Apache Iceberg, open table becoming very popular. Data catalogs becoming very popular and important. And of course, AI models, there's plethora of models there. And how do we all bring in all this together? So let's look at a few of the options. Now, what does this actually mean? Is that a data platform, a modern data platform needs to have an architecture that is flexible, that can handle different things, and not just today's problems, but also the future problems. So the architecture itself has to be flexible. And to start with, the second disruption that I talked about was about the data explosion. So we know unstructured data has taken a huge wave. And why is it important? Again, from an AI perspective, you have structured data. Companies, enterprises have been doing predictive analytics, forecasting, and so many different things, traditional ML for many, many years now. And the new thing is the Gen AI, the large language models, how they feed in, how they derive insights. Now these again are another silos, and Snowflake's mantra is to solve data silos. Now we're solving AI silos. And how do we bring structured and unstructured together? So it's not just enough to have insights from unstructured data, from your documents, images, videos, and everything, but after the intelligence has been gathered, it needs to connect to the business data, which is all structured. And then finally, this has to be delivered to the business with a AI experience that not just touches the data science team or the team that is doing, but across the organization. Only then there's going to be a huge benefit for the entire companies doing this. Now, with that, let's do another double click into how does Snowflake provide the flexible architecture to kind of handle all of these things. Of course, Snowflake is known for ease of use, performance, having all optimized, whether it is Snowflake tables and views and all the different things, warehouses within Snowflake, but also providing the option for enterprises to use or bring in open table, fully managed by Snowflake, or you can bring in your own unmanaged iceberg and still be able to manage, run your analytics from Snowflake, leveraging the warehouses, the compute, and so on. And from there, let's move on to applications. Applications need not just CPUs and warehouses, but you will need GPUs, you'll need containers. And this is where GenAI requires a lot more options. And Snowflake provides not just CPUs, but also containers, which can actually deliver GPUs. So you can be training your own model, building from scratch, or leverage the existing models that is, let's say, built by Anomalo as part of the app and run with that and be up and running really fast in the market. And again, from different personas, you could be a Python or a Java coder, or someone who's very comfortable in building stuff with different languages, not just SQL. And Snowflake engine is able to let you work with different programming languages without have to switch to different engines. And of course, finally, the heart of all the problem that we're trying to solve is bringing different data, whether it's structured, semi-structured, unstructured data, or open table formats. How can you have different patterns, whether you want to build a lake house, one lake, or whatever architecture, data mesh, for example. You can do all of that with Snowflake with the flexible architecture. And then one big question is going to come is security. So this is what Snowflake is known for, to have a complete secure environment for you. And this ties into what Jonathan showed and what Xander explained as well. Single governance engine, which takes care of all of your security. So you have the peace of mind. And now on top of that, you have the governance, the data quality that is done by Anomalo. So you can actually be rest assured and feed the data directly into your AI models, knowing that all the data quality has been handled. And now more so with unstructured data, the whole new paradigm of analysis that comes in from a multimodal perspective. All right, so let's look at one more aspect before we deep dive into some of the AI. Now, Snowflake, as you know, is an AI data cloud. So you have all the different options to handle data as well as AI, and you can be multi-region, multi-cloud. We support multiple clouds. With all the optimization, security and governance is a big piece for us. So for you, so that enterprises do the analysis with the peace of mind. And of course, why do we do all this is to either leverage AI, have your traditional analytics, or you build your applications or collaborate with the applications. Now, when I say build and collaborate, that brings an interesting piece, which is Marketplace. And Jonathan did show a sneak peek of Snowflake Marketplace, where you can go in and click and start to use Anomalo app from there. So Marketplace is where you can not just Anomalo takes care of data quality and everything, but let's say you want a different app that does specific to something to do with AI, you can actually go and look up at the Marketplace. And now this Marketplace also applies internally. So there's an internal Marketplace where you can actually build some things and deliver to your business. Again, everything business focused. And now let's dive into the AI. Again, this is, you would have heard this in many different events, webinars, pretty much in Snowflake's website. There is no AI strategy without a data strategy. And you can see how handling the data quality upfront actually helps you in realizing your AI strategy really fast. So not to keep all the data issues till the end, and then finally, you don't have to go back and fix everything and take a lot of time to do that. With that, how does Snowflake architecture kind of puts all these pieces together? Of course, to be able to handle different data patterns, data mesh to data warehouse and everything, be able to handle different programming languages, have single governance engine, and you're able to ingest data, whether it is high volume, different sizes and whatnot, whether it's structured, unstructured, semi-structured, streaming data, batch data, you are able to do feed in all of that seamlessly. And then, of course, make it simple. So this is what Snowflake is all about. So even though we are on the 3 clouds, your experience is pretty much similar, no matter which cloud provider you use, and you're able to do the same functions across. So reduce the complexity, have everything optimized. And what Snowflake does is, whether it is warehouse, whether it is container services, we continuously optimize so that you benefit from the cost angle. Same thing with the governance. Everything under the Horizon suite of governance features. So you're able to handle all of your governance. And of course, this is if you are a DIY, you're going to be doing all that in SQL. Now, Anomalo makes it super easy. So you don't have to dabble into data quality. And if you've seen the demo, the UI looks so easy to use, Anomalo app, and you have all of the different metrics taken care. And it is so easy to go from where you are to getting to the business transformation. And all of this comes from the solid data foundation. Now, double clicking, how do we help in terms of Gen AI? And specifically, if you heard of Cortex AI families, Snowflake helps you in traditional ML as well as Cortex. Today, we're going to be talking about Cortex AI, which is a suite of generative AI features where Anomalo already uses some of these, and you've seen the demo as well. Now, agentic AI, which Xander talked about, so Snowflake intelligence. So you are able to leverage Snowflake intelligence and then be able to let the agents then work for you. So using natural language. So of course, in the couple of years back, you would have to know programming language and do a lot of things, but now everything is becoming natural language. And that is what Cortex AI brings in with different features. And let's look at that in another double click deep dive. Now, if I were to talk about all the things that Snowflake does today, of course, this constantly changes. We add more. This would be a nice snapshot where you're able to build your powerful generative AI applications. And a great example is Anomalo app. And you can look at Snowflake Intelligence, which is the agentic AI. And by using Cortex agents through the APIs, you can leverage. And of course, now we're talking about unstructured data, structured data, and many other different data. For example, processing PDFs with text is easy, but what about images? Images have information, and that's where multimodal processing comes in, where Cortex AI SQL helps you. If it is all unstructured data, Cortex Search does all of the things below. So you can think of it as a managed, it's a fully managed service from Snowflake. So you don't have to worry about the RAG, the document chunking, vector DB, all of that is automated. So you simply feed the documents, are able to retrieve, and you're able to query it as if it is tables. And you would have seen in one of the slides where Jonathan did mention about this, that you're able to simply run SQL queries or talk to the data without worrying about all the underlying unstructured information. Now, within that, of course, for those of you who want to fine tune the models, you have the option of using fine tuning in within Snowflake. You also have the ability to pick different models, best of the models that you like. You can pick those and you can run models against those. And of course, we tie all of this with the governance RBAC that touches every single object. So you're rest assured you have your complete security and governance taken care, and then you're able to deliver this to your business. All right, so with that, I want to just come back, and I know Jonathan shared this architecture. So what is it that we're doing here together? Firstly, of course, is Snowflake Native App. And those of you who are new to Snowflake Native App is a framework where you can build, run your application, everything within your Snowflake environment, so you don't have to have any data going out of your account. This will be loved by your procurement officers, your finance officers, because they don't have to do any separate compliance if the data is in Snowflake, because the data doesn't leave. So you run the app, Anomalo app that runs. It's a full stack application that uses container services, uses warehouses, and everything runs within your account. Processes structured, unstructured information, gives you the full data quality monitoring. So you don't have to actually sit and look at whether it is null values, whether it is missing values, and so many other things, and come up with different reports. You have all of that in a single click. And of course, everything is pushed down. So your finance is going to love it, because from a FinOps perspective, everything runs within your account. There is one single place where you can look at all the costings, whether you're doing showback, chargeback, all of that is within your single account, within your organization, and you're able to attribute 100% costs to different business units. And if you're in the chargeback business within your company, this is a great option as well. And of course, all of this from Snowflake Marketplace, which is the key enabler for your app. Now, at this point, I just want to invite Jonathan and Xander back. Yeah.
Thanks, Venkat. Amazing. So much information. It's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So folks, thank you so much. If you have questions, any more questions, please add them in the Q&A feature in the Zoom. We can spend some time here answering your questions and following up on anything that's interesting to folks. So I'll go through and I guess I'll sort of MC these, and we'll figure out who the best person to answer each one is as we go. We're going to do it live. So going through a few questions here. A quick one: how is the Anomalo native app different from your SaaS or in-VPC options? The short answer is it's not. I know there's a lot of apps out there where what you get from a native app experience is maybe a limited version of the product, but we've really focused on making sure we have complete feature compatibility. The only real differences are, you're going to use Snowflake's user access management controls, right, to control who has access to the Anomalo application because it's part of their environment. Beyond that, pretty much everything is the same. Another question: can you distribute the slide deck after the webinar? Absolutely. We'll be able to follow up with that and make sure everyone gets a copy of that.
Yeah. And there are two that got posted in the actual chat itself. And so I would love to hear y'all's.
Yeah,
okay, great.
I see those. So next up, if an enterprise is just starting out, what's the first step you recommend for embedding trust and compliance? Xander, maybe you've got the best kind of point of view on that.
Yeah, and hopefully I explained it decent in that typed message, but I'll certainly, hopefully between the two, we can get to a reconciliation. But in my mind, it really comes down to what we're putting into the AI, right? And understanding what it is. I feel like, and this kind of goes into the other question as well from a risk perspective, feel like everybody is looking at AI as the end all be all answer. And so if I just put my entire ecosystem into AI, that's going to magically produce things and then immediately trust it because then it is AI. And so when we look at various AI models, right, we have a context window, which means that if you've ever looked at ChatGPT and asked it 1,000 questions, you may notice that it starts kind of getting lazy on us, right, where you kind of get a half answer, but not a full one. And so as we increase the amount of information that we're feeding into AI, we need to be smart about what we are actually feeding into that AI model. And I think I referenced it as well in my answer written, but right, going back to, I have a toddler, right, as we mentioned with the Spider-Man piece. And so, and that's how I think about AI, right? Like a toddler is going to take in all the information that I give to him, right? And it's going to make a decision with zero other context other than dad told me to. And so ergo the sky is blue, right? Cool. As far as why the sky is blue, what any kind of impact does that mean to me on whether or not it's going to be sunny or rainy that day, et cetera? It needs more context, right? And so as you're referencing back to AI, having those data quality gates intermittent through your pipeline and having that ability to rationalize and give proper information directly into your AI model is really where you alleviate a lot of the first steps of what is and what is not good data, right? Of ensuring, and that's business rationalization, that's do we have 20 reports answering the same question, et cetera, right? And so how do I get to the bare bones of what's actually needed to go into AI so that I can get accurate and proper responses out of it?
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and I think we got our host to repost your written answer
Amazing.
in the chat. So fantastic. All right, a few more questions came in. So, okay, this is an easy one. Is Anomalo Snowflake only, or can we also monitor our legacy data systems? We've invested a lot of effort in making sure Anomalo works across many different data platforms. So we work really, really well with the Snowflake ecosystem, but if you have other data warehouses, legacy data sitting somewhere, and you want to be able to do some of this quality assessment work early before a big migration or before your cleaned up data lands in your modern platform, that's absolutely possible. All right. How does Cortex AI compare to the frontier models that we may have access to from other AI vendors? Venkat, maybe you could address that one.
Yeah. So again, Cortex. So the whole idea is Cortex provides different models, including Snowflake models. So it's not either or. You have all the different choice. If you're very comfortable, you're built with Llama, you could use Llama, or something like that, or Claude, for example. Your demo had Claude model within that. So great example, right? So of course, Snowflake model we train and being coming from data warehouse and the huge experience when it comes to text to SQL, we've shown that we've kind of done highest accuracy in terms of the text to SQL. So you can use best of breeds. If you look at Copilot, which does text to SQL, you can use Snowflake models. If for something else you like one of the other models, Claude or different models, you can pick and choose based on what you see there. Again, our models we train, and similarly, every model is coming out with newer options, and we make it available, including OpenAI models, right? So it's a mix and match approach. But the idea here is we don't compete with these models. It is user choice and based on use cases. But our idea is to make it super simple, to give you everything in a nutshell so that you can then easily leverage. And with our partners, both Anomalo and Hakkōda, right? How do you make it all easy to go to production? It's not just about using model. Maybe it's 0.01% more or less accurate. Does it really matter in a real production? I think the answer is no. Everybody knows this. The key thing is how do we deliver this to the business in a massive scale that the businesses can handle, and across the business. Scaling across the business is key, right? The whole success factor when it comes to adopting AI for the organization. That is our approach.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and I've been very impressed with the way Anomalo's working with the Snowflake stack and how easy it is to really scale up and run these things at scale with high accuracy on the platform.
Yeah.
Great. So we have one more question. Before I get to that, I just want to remind folks that we have the Snowflake World Tour coming up. Anomalo is going to be at an event called Big Data London if you happen to be over in the UK and you're going there. And you can request a joint data quality assessment from us. So reach out after this, and we would be happy to talk to you about the projects you're trying to do, the work you're trying to do, and the evolutions you're trying to accomplish, and help you get fit for that. Okay, one other question I've got in the chat here. What are some of the most common risks you've seen when companies try to operationalize AI without embedding governance and data quality up front? Oh boy. I will honestly say that in my time here at Anomalo, I've seen some doozies, right? This gets into every big fine that you see of a regulated company where they haven't done the work to properly protect and sanitize data before they do things with it. We're not talking about like security vulnerabilities and things like that, but usage of data is extremely has to be done very carefully, right? So I've definitely seen some big risks, everything from compliance violations in regulated industries that do result in fines or sanctions to just huge embarrassments, right? All the way down to, getting a sales email from someone that just has the wrong name in it, or talks about a product that you don't actually make, right? All of these things have their own different kinds of risks. But maybe, yeah, Xander, do you have anything you wanted to add on that?
It's really more so to exactly to your point, right? And it's to my earlier comments, right? Of just everybody will put in a AI and AI is the answer, right? So then it's, chat GPT on our data. And then whatever that comes out with is what we are rolling with, right? And if we look at to exactly your point, right? If I'm looking at a Walmart, right? And or a grocery store, and I'm looking at whether or not this product is on aisle 6 or not, right? And I ask ChatGPT, and it can't tell me the right or wrong answer of whether or not it's on sale, how much does it cost, what are we trying to do with this product, right? And then it just causes so much confusion, not only with internal ecosystems of grocery stores, logistics, et cetera, but also me as the consumer of that thing is I'm confused as to what the price is this thing is. Maybe it's for whatever reason, a banana gets marked up to $20. I'm not paying $20 for a banana, so I'm going elsewhere, right? And so those types of things are really where we are finding a lot of those risks, right? Of core business processes immediately shifting over to AI, trusting it without any kind of understanding of where that data came from or what the output was even looking at, and then realizing way too late in the process, oh darn, that was not right. And so having those types of checks up front of at least understanding what's going into the AI and understanding even more so that maybe AI is only going to give me 75 to 80% of the right answer. And now I need that human in the loop of ensuring that I have a quality check on the back end, whether that be Anomalo or Xander checking from common sense, right? Of just ensuring that we don't have those kind of business decisions of a banana should not be $20, right? And so having those types of pieces in play is really kind of where the risks come from, and then even how to just simply fix them from just a common sense check of what our AI is doing.
Absolutely. I think as a closing comment from my side, I would say, look at DevSecOps. This is what I'd like to compare. DevSecOps is all about shift left. So if you're building your application and if you do your security check later on, you're going to realize there's so much to do if you have to fix one small issue. Same thing applies to data quality. So it should be shift left. Do it early on so that you're fully on peace of mind and you're taking care of it, so the data is accurate. And now everything that happens on the right hand side, AI, LLMs, all come out with real accurate data which you can prove to the business, so there is no anonymity there in terms of anything that you see.
Yeah, a really, really good example, right? I spent some time in the DevOps, DevSecOps world, and I remember metrics that said, a bug that slips into production is 100 or more times more expensive to fix than if it gets caught early in the cycle. And I think the same is true here, right? I don't know if we have a study that'll give us a number, but it's easy to see it as that kind of scale of problem. Well, fantastic. I think that's all the questions we had. So I want to thank everyone for sticking on and for listening to all this, and really look forward to speaking with you in the future if this looks like something you'd like to explore more with us.
Thanks.
Again, you can also find us all on LinkedIn. Happy to connect and chat and talk shop if you have more questions. So thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you all.